Here we have an image of Daniel Penny, who murdered a homeless person.
30-year-old Jordan Neely, by the way, unarmed.
Right, in New York City. And this was what they would refer to as a perp walk. And this is the perp walk for Luigi, also alleged, accused of ending a single person's life. But it just struck me the visual discrepancy, the visual difference in how the state responds to that. If it's a person that in the eyes of the state has no value versus who they think are quote unquote real people or valuable people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, you didn't see Eric Adams at the perp walk of Daniel Penny, now did you?
Right.
But I do think, unfortunately for the state and unfortunately for the prosecution, I do think that ridiculous staged perp walk may have backfired and made Luigi look incredibly Christ-like. Penny.
It was so dumb. I remember, and also like it kind of reminded me, not to compare them, but it did remind me a little bit of like Israel not getting the PR foul that they committed when they released the footage of Sinwar. Like the parallel is that these people are so out of touch that they don't even realize that they're releasing propaganda that serves their enemy.
If they acknowledge that they understood, then they would have to talk about, oh, well, then why are all of these people so upset, and talk about, the hundreds of thousands of people that die every year because these, MFers decide to deny people's, life-saving medicine and treatment and whatnot. Like, they would have to talk about that.
The question is like whether they're doing something that serves their interest or not. And I think that when people are entitled and have the power of the state on their side, they're not very good at understanding how other people see them or how the other people see things. And like with Israel and Sinwar, right? Like they are so racist and they see Palestinians as so dehumanized that they don't realize that for anyone who doesn't have that toxic view, seeing a man with an arm blown off, like fight till the end, is actually not a sign of like weakness and pathetic loserdom, but rather a sign of like major strength and fortitude and courage that these people could not even have for a second.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And this ridiculous staged perp walk just shows how incredibly out of touch these people are. It also kind of reminds me of when folks like Jesse Waters, I feel like I need to put some disrespect on that name.
We have that clip.
When folks like Jesse Waters say that they think that Luigi is going to get I don't know, violence done to him in prison, as if people in prison would care that somebody is accused of killing a CEO.
Yeah, well, we actually have that clip. Let's take a look at Jesse Waters from Fox News. Let's watch his statement about Luigi.
Now, he's a prep school kid. He's politically connected in Maryland.
He's ready for prison?
I don't think anyone's ready, Brian. Maybe you are, Brian, in a different way. But this guy's not ready. He's way too soft. He's going to get annihilated on the inside, and good. If he's not going to get the death penalty, maybe someone will do him justice behind bars.
But let's take a look at some evidence that I'm sure Jesse Waters would be really shocked by.
Luigi's conditions suck! Free Luigi!
Dan, that's coming from inside the prison? Wow.
Yeah.
They've got his back on the inside.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course.
You don't get a good haircut in prison if people don't like you.
Yeah, exactly. He has a nice fade going on right now. That was so obvious and predictable. Like, who would have thunk someone like this is a guy who, again, people who are Republican or Democrats, who are leftist or super right wing are all united in like defending or understanding what this guy. What on earth would make you think that this person was going to be threatened by people in prison, unless he happened to be in a jail cell with like a CEO from
Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Yeah, exactly. Which unfortunately is very unlikely because those people never get in trouble, if only.
Yeah, it's really not that often that you see the discourse in this country show any signs of realigning itself from this left-right culture war to bottom-up class war.
Yes.
And
exactly,
when that happens, we need to seize upon those moments. And
Right.
we don't get to pick what that happens around, but it's happening now. And I think the organized left as such would be really foolish to ignore it.
So is that kind of, I feel like is a response to one of Cuomo's questions, right? Like, why this guy? He comes from money. Why are you fundraising from him? And it does seem like it's a very important, like a consciousness raising opportunity.
Luigi's alleged actions and the ripple effects that caused created cracks in the veneer of our polite society. And like as revolutionaries, one of the things that we always have to do is keep abreast of these cracks as they appear, because they appear in moments, right? They appeared when Trump's legitimacy was threatened in 2017 and the anti-fascist movement was popping off. They appeared during Standing Rock. They appeared in Ferguson. They appeared during George Floyd. They appear over and over and over again, these cracks in our society. And our goal has to be to inhabit those cracks and prevent them from closing. So it's like I have two primary operations with all of this. One is that Luigi walks, because that's what America wants. And two is that this binding spell that has been broken in this country, and obviously the conversation about how messed up the American for-profit healthcare system is not a new conversation, right? That would be a disservice to the people who have been saying that for a long time and to all of us who have been experiencing it for all of our lives. But it re-jump started that conversation in a way that of epic proportions, right? So it's like we have to make sure that those cracks do not close, and that the system change that this conversation necessitates can be moved forward towards.
Yeah. By the way, I just want to read this comment from Philip Blair. Brian Thompson, the CEO. Brian Thompson was raised in an Iowa farm worker family feeding the world. From these heights, he sunk to a lowly medical racketeering crime boss.
Mm.
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah.
Well, hate to see it.
You really do hate to see it. Another thing that I want to bring up, like the death penalty is on the table at this point. I think that it is really important that this person gets a good defense. I think like the powers that be need to be shown that they cannot just like execute someone. First of all, I'm obviously against the death penalty no matter what. I think it's a totally heinous thing, but we all know that you have to pay for justice, unfortunately, in this country. But I also want to show you this clip of a doctor who made a video about something that happened to her while she was in the operating room. She's a plastic surgeon, but she works on breast cancer. And she released this on Instagram. And because of this, UnitedHealthcare has now hired a defamation law firm.
Insurance just keeps getting worse. I just did 2 bilateral deeps and 2 bilateral tissue expanders for patients. And I've never had this happen before, but during the second deep, I got a phone call into the operating room saying that UnitedHealthcare wanted me to call them about one of the patients who was having surgery today, who was actually asleep having surgery. And, said I had to call right now. So I scrubbed out of my case and I called UnitedHealthcare, and the gentleman said he needed some information about her, wanted to know her diagnosis and whether her inpatient stay should be justified. And I was like, do you understand that she's asleep right now? And she has breast cancer. And the gentleman said, actually, I don't. That's a different department that would know that information. And I was like, well, she does need to stay overnight tonight. And you have all the information with you because I got approval for this surgery. And I need to go back and be with my patient now. But yeah, it's out of control. Insurance is out of control. I have no other words.
Can you imagine?
That made me tear up. Like,
Yeah.
actually.
Does anyone actually think that she would make that video just to make UnitedHealthcare look
Right.
worse than they do already? Like, it doesn't need any help with that.
Right.
No, they're filing frivolous lawsuits in an attempt to shut people up and keep them from talking about these problems.